Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A lair owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community lair. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their lair. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
What's up, denizens? Welcome to the weekly DENDAO governance call. Today is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. And we've got a few denizens here on the call already. Joe Dragon, T Swift or Die, and I Am For I Am are here for the beginning of the meeting today. Thank you for joining us. And if you would like to join the call, over in the DENDAO layer on Den, if you look at the beginning of the post for today's meeting, there's a link in there to join the StreamYard call. That'll put you into a waiting room. Send a message in the chat. Let us know you're there and ready to come on, and we'll bring you on to discuss all the things. All right. So, Joe, welcome back. Thank you.
Hello.
You were here last week.
Right.
So welcome back this time.
Traveling. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having that last week.
Last week for World Blockchain Roundtable, Joe invited people to come on the DENDAO call and troll it just in case they wanted to. And then he wasn't on the call. So that was wonderful. Nobody did that. I didn't have to deal with any of it, but I thought it was pretty funny. I Am For I Am. Welcome back. I think you were on last week as well,
yes.
Weren't you?
I think, yeah, I think this is third week in a row.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining these calls. And T Swift or Die, who, if any of you watched the Wednesday show, Coffee with Den, T Swift or Die is the NFT artist on that show. How you doing, sir? Thank you for joining the call to chime in on Den as we build things and grow communities. So let's look at the agenda real quick. We've got features prioritization is the first thing on there. I think that's the big one. We got DMs. We've talked about that. That's been great. I've been talking, I think everyone on this call right now, I've talked to all of you in a DM. So they work. If you haven't checked that out yet, I'll be making a demo for the tutorials layer as soon as I enable videos in the tutorial layer. Tried to do that today and realized I hadn't done that. So ironically, it's on it's a tutorial on governance and management, layer management. And the irony is that I didn't manage that layer enough to have enabled the thing I wanted to do. So participation required.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. We'll look at the options, what we have in front of us to vote on. And as a reminder, if you didn't know, these DENDAO votes, everyone has a vote. It's different from the individual layer governance where you have to have a lot in that layer for you to have a say in the governance. With DENDAO, everyone based on behavior on the system, which is a whole conversation that we can have if we need to, but basically it's behavior based. And there are things that denizens are incentivized to do. And if you do them, you get more of a vote. You can think of it as DENDAO's way of incentivizing people to volunteer to build with us, if that makes sense. Let's see, what else have we got? And then if there's anything else, that would be a great time for anybody else to come up with different issues that are not on the agenda. So let's get right to it with features. How's DMs going for everybody? Anybody have any nuances on DMs that they haven't seen addressed anywhere? Things like that. We all kind of an ingredient that we can move on to other stuff, right? I don't think that's the question.
I mean, I posted a bug that happened. It was like, we'll report it to the team. I don't know if it's fixed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, put that, hit up the support layer for that, for bugs and things like that.
I did. I put it in there. They responded. They said, we'll report it to the team.
What is it? What's going on? What's the bug?
It was your messages not staying in like chronological order.
Oh, I did hear
like
something about that.
My message to get messages together.
So that's been that did make it to the team. So that has been brought up. I've seen some dialogue about that, and the updates. I don't know. I don't think that there's like a consistent, like, okay, every this many days the updates get pushed out, but in an update that comes out, I'm sure that'll be resolved, because that is that's been, attention has been brought into.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if that was a bug or a feature, so I wanted to ask.
Well, it does. Let me look at the messages real quick on a different account. Well, no, it can change. I'd have noticed mine changing too. Let me just see how it looks. I'm going to log into my company account, not my personal one with the DMs and stuff, real quick, if you don't mind. So stand by.
Were the dates correct? Because those are both in May 26th, and then the one from Decent Games are May 25. Is that correct?
Yeah, the dates I think were correct.
I see, but then you're May 25 at the top. I get it. Okay, that makes sense.
DMs. All right, so these three. I guess it doesn't have the timestamp of the last one on here. 25. Maybe these are all the same day.
Posing info from.
Yeah. I would say wait for the next update. I know the team's got it. I don't have enough messages in there to really get an idea of what's going on, unfortunately.
Also,
so I hope that's enough.
I feel like it might be down because I haven't been getting people paying me to send me money recently to like ask me questions. I don't know. Maybe if just mine's down.
Yeah, it could be that your information isn't worth paying for.
Your
John.
mind is down. I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
My DMs might be down. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. Check in because there might be a flood of people trying to ask me questions about NFTs. And it might
So on a serious note, the chat has actually gone down a couple times for everybody. And that was something that the team thought was just in the dev environment, but looks like that was layer chat too. Occasionally, if you notice it's not responsive, it had a bug. I think it's addressed, but I know that it's at least got attention on it. As for the quality of your information and the marketability of it, I don't know if I can help you out with that, John, unfortunately. I am. What about yourself, sir? What have you seen?
I'm getting you know what? I'm making a lot of money off of my DMs. I can't keep up with all of them.
You're just trying to rub it in. I think, I'm actually... So it's working for you, but it's not working for John. So look,
see, John, I'm messing with you, John.
I think that is a feature that probably a lot of people will gloss over.
Well, it's all good. It's all good.
No, I'm glad that you're making a joke about it a little bit, actually, because it is a waste of time, but it is worth pointing out that that is an interesting feature because you make. And this is something that Joe has said a lot when describing Den and how the systems work and things like that, is if you apply a marketplace, a designed, engineered marketplace to a problem, you can often make the problem go away without having to have like traditional, expensive, centralized solutions to it. So that's bringing the DMs into like, okay, use a marketplace to filter out spam, for example, is something that I wouldn't have maybe thought about, because it does make it, potentially expensive to spam people. Hey, buy Viagra. Eventually, if you start getting these like email spam, for lack of a better comparison, you can just turn up how expensive it is to message you or to email you. I think that's a feature that I don't know, should be adopted everywhere. Like super valuable for LinkedIn, for example. Think about professionals, reviewed professionals. If you want to pick their brain, it's like, sure, give me a tip and you can pick my brain. So that kind of stuff. And Den's doing first. So it's awesome. As for the other features, let's look at those. I've already voted on mine. I don't know if I want to be the one that shows. I don't want to influence the crowd or whatever, or I can just bring it up. If
I
you guys
haven't
don't-
voted
that's a-
yet. Yeah.
Does it matter if I show?
Whatever you think.
Oh, okay. I'll just bring it up.
Like whatever.
Let's see. So if you hit the hammer or the gavel over in the corner and you hit the dragon or the phoenix or the Den logo in the sort of middle right there, depending on what you call it, you will find that there is a Den prioritization vote that's up. And that was posted yesterday by Joe Dragon in DENDAO. And this is the one that anybody can vote in. And there's a list with descriptions of features that we know we want on Den, right? If we could wave a magic wand, this is what we'd have right now, right? And some other stuff too. But here's what could fit into 13, which is the limit for miscellaneous / like random governance issues whenever you add that. So look through this. I won't read the descriptions, but we've got anonymous posting. We've got the internal market features, and we can go back through these after I just read through them real quick if we want to talk about them. Denizen flags, denizen at reference by ID, so I can at T-Swift or die to pay him, ask him what his DM threshold is. Notifications, update and refactor. Show consensus and proof reports on posts, layer metrics and leaderboard, formal cross-posting, smart contract integration IPA, bookmarks, translation features, a layer poll, like a non-lot voting poll, where anybody can, who's subscribed to that layer can vote in it, which would be different than the GI that we're on right now. And LCP process automation. So those also have tags on estimated effort low to high. So that can be considered too, like how long is this going to take or how hard is it? Maybe the effort and length of time it takes to implement is not really a good like comparison, but that's kind of like the engineering difficulty behind it, I guess. So there's what's up to be voted on. Now, does anybody have any questions about these options?
Yeah, which one's the best?
Good question. So the one I voted for, and the reason, yeah, these are all something that I really want yesterday, you know. But here's, you can see that I voted for smart contract integration API. Now that might sound boring, and maybe it is, but I think that directly supports two other important features. One of them is adding people like at T-Swift or at IM for IM could be a smart contract integration, and also like flagging content for turning off rendering if, you know, once we scale. Because here's my thing. We got DMs. It's time to scale up. Let's bring people in. And if we're going to bring a bunch of people in, I think we need stuff like layer tools for like a flagging system. And we already have one proposal that's pretty high up on the list in the LCP that requires this specific feature before it's even able to be created, because it needs a flagging system just by the nature of what it is. And then that also will allow us to have anonymous posting, which is another feature, and that can all sort of gel together. So that's what I'm voting for. What y'all think?
I was hoping to vote for adding the labels next to.
Did I understand? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did I understand you correctly? The anonymous feature?
Yes, there is an anonymous posting. That one I want, but I feel like we need flags first, because, or flagging, or some sort of like, what do you call it? Like consensus based. Don't render this image because it violates community guidelines thing, right? And so the cool thing with this is, with anonymous posting, is as a layer, you could either allow anonymous posting, disallow anonymous posting, or allow only anonymous posts, to where it's like an anon layer. And since it's anonymous and you don't know, and Den doesn't, the platform can't reward that post the way that it does normally, because it's anonymous, who do you give it to? Then the rewards go to the layer owners. So it becomes another marketplace item, another tool in the toolbox for generating those rewards for the layer owners, for the lot holders of a layer. So that's why I think anonymous is cool, because it actually changes some of the economics potentially too.
I thought I misunderstood you when you mentioned anonymous posting and something in the smart contract integration. The smart contract integration, for me, the critical point is flagging inappropriate content. You know, that's my biggest concern that could create all kinds of upheavals within the denizen community. You know,
and that's exactly right.
And that's why I think that is
priority. And that's why I mentioned the anonymous posting at all. Not that it would rely on it, but that it would be beneficial to have that flagging system before we turn on anonymous posting. You know,
I understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
T Swift or Die, you were asked about the words next to the buttons. So that actually has to be written up. You and I Am for I Am both have very good discussions in the DENDAO layer, both of which need to be turned into a proposal so that it can be on this list. So it will totally be there. They're just not through the discussion phase yet. And that's honestly my bad, because I was going to get both of those done by this morning. And I've just been more busy catching up from being lazy over the last week than I had prepared for. But tomorrow, I've got the whole day to do it. So that's what's up with that. Is we can talk about that right now, though. In that discussion, do you want to bounce over to that real quick, or do you want to stick onto this? Because we can bounce over and talk about that. John.
Well, you're on the show, man. Whatever you want.
One other quick question. Going back to the smart contract, can I?
Okay. Yeah, let's go to the description. Right.
The smart contract.
Oh, cut out.
There was no hours put into that. So, what's the time frame on that? Is that like a month, 2 months?
Joe, what do you think? This
2 weeks?
Something that maybe you could.
It's potentially high. They have it depends on how far we go. Like, say, in the very least, I'd like to get the first phase of it would be configuring, like, say, NSFW and abuse, and I don't know what else, site wide to have to hit a smart contract that would. In the case of, as an example, in the case of NSFW, it would at least hide the picture if there was a picture there. And in the case of abuse, maybe it would hide all of the content. And you would have to, it would say this is hidden because it's tagged as X, or as abuse or something. So you could click on it and see it, and then you could weigh in. And essentially, once it comes to consensus that maybe it isn't not safe for work, so we're not going to, the smart contract will evaluate it and say, okay, we're just going to show it because the consensus is generally that someone just said that probably to attack the content, right? So it's that type of a thing. But then essentially what we would want is the ability to either provide some generic smart contracts where you could do some specific things in the layer, or where you could, how do I say, have an API, so you could essentially, write a new smart contract to do anything in your layer.
Like a chatbot or something.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, just better ways to manage communities or to filter content. I had an example, but I was looking for it because it was based on a tag in some layer. I'm like, oh, they could probably do something in this way, but I can't remember what it
something
was.
that here's an example that I can think of is if they're like in a layer, you could potentially configure automatic cross posting to a sister layer or related layer if it's tagged with a particular tag that says wrong layer
Bitcoin.
Or something like that.
It could be. It could be if it was tagged
not wrong layer,
theoretically,
thing, but like Bitcoin, or
then it might post it to a Bitcoin layer, or if you post it in cryptocurrency and you mark it as Dragon, maybe also post it to the Dragon chain layers.
Stuff like that, where you could start really like playing Legos a little bit.
Yeah.
Something I was going to say that I am reminded me of is, in the interest of time, so this is a DAO. We can do anything we want, right? If we wanted to, we could, let's hypothetically say that this passes. We could then say, as a DAO, we could do another proposal and say, hey, in the interest of time, can we get the site-wide contract going for the tags for like, NSFW and things like that, to where we know we at least want these things as the first pass on this feature. And then we could reprioritize after pass 1, and maybe this smart contract API second pass would be a feature that we voted on. Or maybe, okay, that's enough of that one. Now let's hit first pass on a different feature. That kind of thing.
Yeah, just put phases on them. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I like that idea.
Yeah, I would lean towards that, I guess, with this, because I want the one thing way more than I want, like, chatbots would be great, but I don't need that right now. Like, we just got chat. That's fine for now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now on to the icons. So the icons were updated to remove the words on the side over here, and that depends a lot about like your opinion, I guess. Most people have been leaning towards, I wouldn't say leaning towards, most people have been saying they want the words to come back on desktop when we have, like, at the very least, we should have words at least as a hover whenever you mouse over. Because if I go and click on this icon here, it says settings at the top. And yes, I can just go click on stuff and see what they do, because I am not afraid to do that. Some people are unsure. And they don't want to go click around because it's like, what is all this stuff? And it's scary because they've been told their entire time getting into crypto, be careful about every single little thing that you do, right? So I do think it would be helpful to have a hover where it would pop up and it would say, home and yada yada. Yes. So can we discuss that a little bit? Let's say I write up the proposal for it this week. Should I put a proposal up that has a couple of options? Like, do you want the words burned into the side? Do you want the words only to show up in like desktop mode? But if you change the shape of it, the reactive design makes it to where the buttons at the bottom don't have the words anymore, right? What do we actually want that we can put in and vote on? Should it be yes or no, or should it be MISC?
I would say, general desktop, it would show the words. If it's shrunk down enough in a regular browser that it would be hover. Now, the issue with that is on mobile, hover is quirky, right? I mean, if you can long hold, and it'll usually make a hover action.
I think we do. Right? We've got a lot of effort toward mobile with the 2 apps, so I think we can get away with that.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to hover on the app.
Yeah.
My only comment is this: certainly the language translation.
Oh yes,
like in desktop mode. I want to make sure that if hover, I don't know if Google Translate works on that or any of the other translation apps. That would be my only concern.
That's
for
a
hover
Chrome
mode
thing, right? Chrome, and I think Brave, or anything based on Chrome. Is that? Oops, back up. So yeah, so you're talking about the inline or the automatic translation, to where it would change just this whole page. So instead of saying posted 6 hours ago, it would say whatever that is in a different language. Yeah, we'll have to look and see. I don't know if there's a problem with hooking with that's up to the browser, really, if it's able to hook it or not.
Sure.
Yeah, because if you do it on the back end, it becomes a scalability issue, and it
No.
money. But if you do it on the front end, you can have. I would just say you would have a link like they do on Twitter, where if something's in a foreign language, there's a translate. It, it'll from the browser, go to either Google or Bing. And
right.
Yeah. IAM is specifically just talking about people that use that built-in tool already, making it just work nice with the auto browser translation tool. If there's, if there's something to look at to say, okay, well, if we do it this way, then people already using translation browsers, it'll be able to pick that up automatically and change the word. So something to consider.
Does it not do that already? Like, say,
I don't know. We have other things, like what else has hovers that I can look at? Something in the settings has a hover right here somewhere, right? No, back up. Can you think of an example of what has a hover description?
Oh, you're talking about hover.
I thought the
hover
FAQ
translation?
had hover, but maybe not.
No, not that. Let's
Drive
see.
dot.
Well, I can look into that later.
Right. Yeah, I was talking about hover translations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look.
All right. Yeah, I'll check it out later. I don't know the answer to that one. I'll
Yeah.
circle.
I'd say it's
what is
kind
it?
of
I'll
a-
circle around on it.
Probably a lower priority too. So is most everybody
I
on here English is
sure.
Yeah, but if it can be easily hit and just not forgotten about, I think that's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that? So here's what is that what it'll be then? Does everybody feel good about that? Yeah. With desktop mode, word next to it. When desktop mode is in portrait mode, hover. And the app is the app. This is just
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. That sounds good to me, John.
Let the front
yeah.
end handle it.
And the front end handle it. Yeah. It's not a back end thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that this is finally getting the attention it needs and deserves. Okay, we have been going too long, okay, without words to tell us where to click. It's been a hard time. I've been spending so much time ignoring my kids, trying to figure out what these tabs are.
Yeah, it is worth saying that you can
Finally,
also click on it and see what it does, and then you just know.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Think about all the time I'm gonna save. It's gonna be amazing.
Yes. Yes. So you want to go down the list? I mean, just at least to get
Yes.
a high level of each. So anonymous.
Yes.
Anonymous
So
we talked about. So here's the interesting thing about that. Since the if you configured your layer to be anonymous only, it would mean theoretically that the lot would likely generate more matter than in a normal layer. Because
Yes.
the content, all of the rewards will go to the lot holders.
Right. And so if you have something like tutorials layer and you have somebody that's already a low count lot layer, you know what I mean? Like if you buy one of the smaller ones during the LCP, you can sort of influence the value relative to Den, like in other layers, by doing that. And then you turn on anonymous posting, and then people who maybe don't want to post, there's, for example, I shared a while back, I might have posted, I posted on Den about Hetty Wook's guide to non-KYC Monero, right? So Hetty Wook might not want to post, publicly from their account because that community is really big on privacy, but they could post it in the tutorials layer anonymously, and then the people who hold the lot to that layer would get those rewards instead of the person posting it anonymously. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And one other thing that it might even the way that the DAO votes might be interesting here. That let's say anonymous wins. Okay, let's just say it wins. The secondary question, at least one of them I know of, would be when this is deployed. What is the default layer configuration? Does it change? Does it say you have to explicitly go in and request to allow anonymous or to change to only anonymous? Or do we say by default all layers allow anonymous posting now and you'd have to turn them off? That could be a secondary vote, right? So
probably I would say it's turned off by default. We already have things like video turned off by default, so it would follow that if video is off by default, probably ain't on as well.
Probably. Okay, cool.
Just my opinion. And then the market features. See, that's the one I voted for last time that did not win, which is interesting because priorities do change, and that's that kind of shows like, we even talked about doing this monthly instead of waiting until, like, if we're not done with the feature yet, doing the reprioritization anyway, because as things change, like pivoting is a real thing,
Right.
So like the marketed features though, actually, wait, we combined a few for this one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because this used to be 3 different features, and now it is matter lot trade, matter lot purchase and swap, and the dollar metric all in one feature set. which is why the effort's high, I guess, which makes sense.
Yeah, because the A and B on this are not necessarily easy. There's a lot of, you have to worry about security and making sure everything is proper. Dollar metrics pretty easy, but
Joe, when you said proper, are you referring to SEC? Joe, when you said proper, are you referring to the SEC regulations?
No, it'd probably be more banking regulations. If to make sure that we're not doing anything we aren't supposed to be doing. But
okay.
As an example, the fact that you can purchase Matter or Lore with maybe Ethereum or with a credit card. What do we have to do to make sure? We'd have to make sure there's AML stuff in place. We'd have to, various other things. But Matter lot trade, swap is maybe not as big of a deal because it's literally all inside the system. So I'm just picking up some lot, trading it with some Matter,
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how we're doing it for decent gains, because we're doing a scaled down. So everything we do for decent gains, which is the account that I'm logged in right now, is just a scaled down version instead of a scaled up version of stuff. And so we're going to offer Matter purchase on our website through our merchant account. And that's going to be just like any other e-commerce, probably just like a WooCommerce plugin or something. And the deliverable is electronic delivery. And we need your Den account so that I can deliver it to you via electronic delivery. And it's a manual process. We don't expect to have and don't actually want a bunch of outside Gainesville and volume and stuff. It isn't about that. It's about a local community who has a need. And so we're just going to do it like that. And I like doing it that way with Den, because the things that scare me with the SEC and things like that, I'm not making my own token here. I'm not, this is something that exists that we mined or we went and acquired and we're selling it as a business, that kind of thing. So it's different, I think, for DENDAO is what I'm getting at. So we'd have to make sure. Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, but especially with the banking stuff is important. And like say the Matter lot swap, which is item A, is interesting because it won't be, we're going to tell you that Matter is worth 30 cents and that this lot is worth, whatever they sold it at, wanted to sell it at, $5 a piece or something like what is happening on OpenSea. Instead, this is going to be something where if you have some extra lot that you want to, you want to grow the community, so you want to get it out there and distribute it a little bit, you can put a price potentially very, very low or very high and it'll be, it'll be time based. So it'll essentially say, I'm going to mark this as a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, 120, where if it is whatever this layer is currently generating in Matter. So essentially, I'm going to sell this one lot for the amount that it would matter that it would take for me to make on average in 6 months, right? And that way you can come in and say, okay, I know that I can make that lot worth more on my own by posting better content than what is currently in that layer, and therefore, I want to get it. And it's just an interesting way of doing it instead of some arbitrary. I'll take $1.20 each. It's
what I like about that a lot is, I guess it's funny how much I frame everything into Bitcoin or into mining Bitcoin or something like that. But it really does put a value on a token, a lot, that is an inherent value that is not based on any existing monetary system. This is something that is literally invented, and it is new, and it has an inherent, this thing does that. So you can mathematically say this thing is on average worth this many VATs per month, Yes. So you can say things like, this is a 9-month ROI in Matter. I don't care what the price is in US dollars. I don't care what the price is in pesos.
Right.
You know, this on average spits out that many that's, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whole thing, you know.
Question. As
Uh-huh.
the, for the lack of a better term, clearinghouse, would this have a time frame that trade would take place? Kind of like the tipping function has a 7-day hold.
If we did,
probably
it would
not. It'd probably be a direct flip. I don't know that, right? It'd probably be a direct flip because it's not like a tip where somebody might, you know, do something unexpected or unintended.
Yeah, I think if we did, it would be something that we put on as like training wheels at first or something. Other than that, I don't see a reason it would need to be, because the blockchain is the clearinghouse, I guess, right? Is the like, yep, this is legit, that kind of thing.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so that's a pretty big one. That would definitely, like, I don't know. I want it. Once again, I want it. So flags.
It'd be very nice.
We talked about flags a little bit yesterday. Got some feedback. John, after we talked about it, I did talk to Joe a little bit about it. And like, there's a few different options. The early demo, I don't know if anybody saw the mock-up of what flags would potentially look like. I like it a lot because of how much information it packs into basically an icon, right? And it would be a way to identify people, and know that they're not like, oh, I changed my name to Joe Dragon, so hey, I'm Joe and I'm going to scam you now, right? Kind of came out of the idea of how do we make it to where everyone doesn't have to put "will not DM you" in their title, and like different ways to help out with that. So any questions on the flagging? It's basically going to display information about your account based on behavior on the platform. So you can know, all right, this person is a lot holder. They're an owner of this layer. And maybe that renders if you're talking in the layer, but it doesn't if you're not talking in the layer. That kind of thing.
And are you guys going to go with David's mock-up? What do you think?
That was Joe's mock-up, but yeah, that's what we were.
No, I was talking about David's mock-up from the show. You're going to go with
no, not that. We don't know yet. There's a couple of mock-ups that I've looked at. I also looked at, like, I took a screenshot from Morrowind where it has the health bars and the fatigue and the different stuff, and, you know, because there's things you can do in that format too, where even like BitBuy was saying you could unroll it, or you could like have a drop down, you know, to where there's the immediate information that's kind of like visual identifier. Yep, okay, this is what I'm used to seeing in association with this username, so I'm familiar with it. It gives you more information passively. But you can display that in a whole bunch of different ways. We don't know yet.
Yeah. See, and I'm that the first rendering that I put out was a little bit overly complex, right? Too much, you know, a little too aggressive maybe. But I think that all of those pieces can be brought out, especially if we look at, like, say, the bar. So when you're looking at either the card in the stream, or especially when you're in the content itself, and, you know, here's the content where I can vote on it, that we wouldn't have to have them all inside of a single graphic. They could essentially be, you know, avatar, and then what would be a visual flag that would, you know, make it very hard to impersonate. And maybe some code on top of the flag. So even if you had a similar looking flag, there would still be some numbers in there or something that would make it very hard to duplicate. And then what I think is very important is the rep side. That you might have the layer rep, the content rep, both very important. But I think the most important, frankly, is the economic rep, because I want to be able to see that when I'm voting, so I know whether to attenuate my vote based upon their reputation. Like, say, okay, this is great content, but this person also has a horrible reputation for just dumping the token value itself. So I'm not going to put as much into what they. So you're essentially making things more transparent so people can make better decisions that will help improve the economics. So I think it's super important.
Yeah, because you don't need any.
You know,
like, really,
that new customer you talked about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That new customer you're talking about, I could see how this would be important for them. They don't want to have scammers that are, like on Telegram impersonating people.
Yep.
I would think, because
Which is
don't they want to use it like Telegram? Don't they want
instead of yes, that was one of the things that was important to them.
Probably maybe even sticky DAO. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that that would be really useful for that reason. And before we, if that does not make it through next, and they're going and maybe the flagging system does, then they would just need to manage, like, okay, be ready with the flag if you have an ongoing attack, for example. That's been like, there's at least one scam I've seen on Den where somebody saw something on YouTube and was like, oh shit, look at this, and posted it on Den, well-meaning, right? Didn't know that they were spreading a scam. But it could have been something that was flagged as a scam so that it could be disabled for safety or for, so people don't get wrecked, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yep.
So let's see.
So
what? Oh, go ahead.
What about the medallion one that we talked about too? I kind of like that because, like, what I think too is, like, your avatar is not like, I think first of all, I think the avatars are like they're like kind of smaller in size, right? So if you go to like, if you go to like the normal like Den homepage, right? I don't know. I don't think these are like the easiest things to see and stuff like that. Like sometimes they're muddled. Like I can't tell what half of these are because they're kind of like a smaller thing, right? It's not. You're
talking about the individual user's avatar.
The individual avatar. So if we're gonna take that and then on top of that put
it would be around side. I think it'd be this side, and it would be bigger. And by the way, one of the things I'm thinking for that is to, and I mentioned this to Dave yesterday. Unlike any other social platform, if we went with square avatars, just went back to the old days where you'd have an actual square avatar instead of a round one, and then right next to it you would have a something like, if you've been in any other wallets where when you put in an address it generates a graphic, right? Something like that.
Oh yeah, right.
And then the rep bars, and trying to think what else. That might be it, right? That might be the whole of it.
Yeah, you could have like the like there's existing packages to just spit out like a alien blaster character or something, whatever you call it, asteroids. It makes a little pixel art thing that's unique. And then you're saying beside that, because you could have if you did that and then from the side you had, say, 3 bars for 3 different reputations, it would look like a flag.
Yeah.
So that would still work.
Yep. It'd be simple. I know we could build that pretty quick too.
Color code the bars. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, John. I think I.
Oh, you're good. I think like I like the idea of like just having like the medals or whatever next to the name. I think it kind of like separates.
Oh, I remember what you were talking about. So John was talking about medallion. He means like medals on a military uniform.
Oh, like badges.
Badges and ribbons and stuff like that. And that could be something in like a drop down too, where you
could be on the right
or on the right. Yeah, I mean,
if we're doing this,
there's a lot of space here.
I think we would just take that whole row and just fill it up with the stuff.
Yeah.
So you'd have like essentially probably like a medal per like layer that you're an owner in, maybe, and then like it's a bunch of flair, kind of
flair. Yeah. I was thinking like the flag, the layer owner flag would show up. Let's say I'm in the Den layer, right? Yes. And then I posted in the Den layer, so my name would have a flag like this, would have a flag next to it or something. Oops.
That you're an owner there. Yeah.
But it wouldn't show up if you went to the Spanish layer and saw me post in there. Yeah. That way I don't go to people and say, hey, I'm an owner of this layer. Scam, that kind of thing. It actually says, so it only renders if you do have lot for that layer or not, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Stuff like that. Yeah, little, and then
crown.
Like,
a crown or a crown.
something. Achievements are cool. Like, we talked about gaming earlier in the World Blockchain call. Some things we could take from there, from gamification, achievement unlocked, that kind of thing. Energy user. If you use up 80% of your energy every day, maybe you get a certain flag. But if you go 3 days without doing that, you lose your flag.
Yeah.
That could be integration with smart contracts and the Flare, stuff like that.
Totally. That's awesome. I like that idea too. It's great.
Ooh, that's good.
So that's possible. What else is possible? Anything. We can @at people. Right now we can DM them. And so to DM them, you have to go find their account. So an @ reference by ID would be useful if you needed to just kind of ping somebody saying, hey, I am. Here's, can you reply to, like the mining layer that one time, whenever somebody had a question, I didn't see it. I am.
Oh, right.
Hit me up in a DM, but could have just added me and said, Distant, you have any insight here?
Yep.
That kind of thing.
Just inline at that. We have a couple of little things we have to figure out how we want to design them, because right now, effectively, your user ID is actually a UUID. It's real long, a string that you will not be able to remember. So how would the search, or if I type would it bring up a little bar, and then I start like on Twitter, I start typing a name, will it bring it up by their display name?
Right.
Probably. So
right. So your name is actually this string of numbers and alphanumerics up here, that kind of thing, which is something I've got to figure out too. So when we put when we do put matter up on our website for Decent Gains LLC, then I got to figure out basically how to tell people, give me this number or something. You know what I mean? That's one thing that isn't in this list that eventually I want to see in here, maybe for the second pass of DMs, which is to be able to have your phone and say, bloop, 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 here's a QR code. That's me. Yeah. Right there. Instead of saying, go search for me and this, one thing.
Yeah. No, that's simple. Yep.
All right. So, and actually maybe that it's simple enough. Maybe it can go in at the same time as the @ reference. All right. So upgrading the notifications. You've probably all noticed that the notifications sometimes notify you for things that you've already seen, and sometimes it doesn't notify you for things that you want to see. Is that basically what this is about?
Yeah, I mean, the primary that I notice is that if you're in a conversation, you don't get notification. Like, say, if I say something, you reply to me, I get that notification. But then John replies to you, I would get it, right? It should be that somebody somebody participated in this thread,
Got you.
But and we have ways to do that, but it's not there.
Yeah, and on the app, I'm already getting push notifications for like stuff that the app doesn't support yet. So I can see that like maybe the chat rooms might get out of hand with the notifications that they give too many. What were you saying, I am Fran?
Yeah, I was going to say the differential between chat notification and DM notification.
Yeah.
The chat notification should probably be attenuated after a few messages in a row.
Well, I even think it should just be if somebody replies to a message in the chat, that if they reply to your message in chat, you should get a notification, just like if it was a post or reply.
Otherwise, that doesn't make sense. Otherwise, don't notify you for every somebody else's conversation in a chat room. That would make sense. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. All right, and then there's show consensus, and this is where we would, after some time, show consensus, show how people voted, how many people voted, in which direction. Also be able to pull down a proof report for the post, so you can file that away and say, yep, here's what it is, and here's what they knew and when they knew it, that kind of thing. So that is what show consensus is about.
Yeah. And it's not as important as it was. This was we fixed one major issue with voting integrity, or basically where people were concerned. It was easy to destroy someone's rewards by downvoting them a whole bunch, and now instead the prediction market is better modeled that if you downvote someone a whole bunch, but the consensus is no, this is good content, that they are rewarded more. So and this was part of that whole set. That this would be the side that is the transparent report of what actually the market decided. And I don't know if it's as important now. It's still there. It's still viable and valuable, but it's maybe not as important as some of the other things.
Well, wasn't there just a in metrics? Wasn't there just a fix put into how that was being displayed to where you can go get those numbers now in metrics that are accurate as well
for your own content.
For your own content,
yeah,
but you can't inspect someone else's. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
So this is just that other side.
Okay. And then another big one is the leaderboard layer metrics. That one's cool because I like video games, I guess. And I just kind of, I look at that and I'm like, all right, that's a way of, I don't know. It just seems like a place that would spur some friendly competition, between layers and stuff like that. And maybe even contests. The contest layer itself could run contest for layers, and then the layers can compete directly on the leaderboard.
Yeah, the great thing about this, I imagine, is that you would see that leaderboard. You'd see, oh, hey, a particular layer that I have some interest in has ranked number 3, and it generates so much matter per lot per month. Let's say is how they'd be ranked. That you'd have a button right there to go in and to buy or sell some of that, right? Which means like, oh, I want some of that, right? Or I don't know. There's some really interesting stuff there.
Yeah, that should definitely be integrated into whatever auction house or lot swap situation we have.
Right. Yeah.
And then formal cross posting. Right now, there's not a formal way to do that. So, like, I just posted in a couple of different places if I need to. So this would allow the poster themselves to cross post to a secondary or tertiary
That's a powerful
layer.
idea.
Mm-hmm. And then also anybody else who notices something that is in a layer that they like, maybe you're a member of 2 layers, but a certain denizen is a member of only one of them. So they only post in one layer, but it does relate to the other one. The third party could then cross post it for you and be rewarded for that. In a way that if they do it incorrectly and cross post it to somewhere it doesn't belong, it does not penalize the OP. But maybe it does to the cross poster. So, so that gives cross posting, but that also gives a marketplace for cross posting too. Anybody can go pick up the slack, and that's an important thing on a lot of these. A lot of these features that are already in Den and a lot of the features that are coming they really should be thought of as ways, like jobs that need to get done and ways to enable people to get rewarded to go pick up that task, kind of thing. A lot of them are features we want, but a lot of them are also like, a marketplace for people that want to stack matter, I guess. Find stuff that you can cross post and do it. We talked about smart contract integration API. So let's go to bookmarks, which is basically something, I think that one is primarily geared towards the app on Apple or Android. Just like the what we talked about with the buttons having words is more geared toward the web app. This one's more geared towards the phone app, being able to save a post, right? So right now you have to share and then like text yourself or something, send yourself a message, that kind of thing. So that's what the bookmarks
I imagine, but you'd have like a screen somewhere you could go and just look at all the saved.
Yeah, just something that's like, I want to read this later, or a pocket, bookmarks.
Have you thought about just making it possible to like right click a link and open it in like another tab? Have you thought about doing something like that?
Yeah, let's talk about that after we get through the last few of these.
Okay,
because that's a different one altogether. Translation features. This would be something that would be designed and implemented by Den, right? I know I looked at one solution. I was looking into it a little bit, and there is, I don't know how feasible it is, but there's a really interesting one. It's an open source MIT licensed project that is AI natural language translation kind of thing that does not rely on Google's services. So I don't know, maybe we could bolt in something like that and implement it in a way that makes sense on here. But yeah, I don't know what that would entail yet, but I know it's going to be hard to get right.
Yeah.
Layer pull. So that's just a non-lot GI basically, but maybe it goes in the post, so you can do a photo, video, and or a poll, that kind of thing. Like maybe if I wanted to put up a Mystery Science Theater episode, and then like during the watch party, we can all participate in the poll and in the chat and in the that kind of thing over in the movies layer. But the limitation we have now is you have to have lot to vote in a miscellaneous GI. So that's what that's about.
Yeah. Simple poll. Yeah.
LCP process automation. A lot of this conceptually has been done because we have been playing with processes, I guess, of how to signal, for example, how many we should create next time, right? Based on people using the options available to create them when they didn't win. So that's something that could be automated. How many by unique voter? Maybe that goes up and down based on how many people are paying the fee to purchase one.
May the 5th. Which is your favorite Star Wars move?
Right.
So that's 13. Now, John brought up right-clicking on stuff. This is something that annoys me, actually. If you go to any post on Den, and like, let's say this is related to bookmarks, probably. It's like, all right, like normally I would go in and I would say, okay, read this. But if I wanted to, like, for example, open this in a new tab, I can't right-click, open in a new tab. There's one place on Den that I can do that, and it's in the Den list of layers. I can right click and open all, and I can right click and open Den, and I can right click and open DENDAO and gaming in a different tab, and then I can go off and do something else, and those open up in a different tab. So it would be handy sometimes to open up a particular post in another tab without having to go to it. So that's what you're talking about, John?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I imagine that wouldn't be that hard because I agree. I would like to be able to control. I always control click. Right, control click, it pops a new tab up.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I do too.
Wait, that's like hold on. No, that didn't work.
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't work on here now. So
okay.
like,
it must be forced not. I don't know. We'd have to check, but I imagine. Here, let me look. Actually,
so if you wanted to do that, you would like go to the DAO, right? You go to like DENDAO and you write something up for it.
Yeah, you can open a discussion for it if you want. It could be something that it gets just updated, and if it's simple enough to change, it might be something that comes out in an update that doesn't need to be a proposal. But if it does need to be, then yeah, excuse me, the DENDAO or the Den layer. I guess DENDAO, if you're.
Do you get like a lot of like requests and stuff?
Here's
like
what
that?
Here's what you should do. For organization, I think that it makes sense to discuss that in Den. And if you find that, okay, yeah, this is something that like there's several denizens who would like to see this. By that time, hopefully somebody who has DENDAO lot will have seen it and chimed in and talked to, for example, the devs to say, hey, do we need this to be a GI or a DENDAO issue, or can we just get this out in the next update? And if it is that we need a proposal, then I guess we'll do it in the DENDAO layer. Does that make sense? Or should we, because that's how I'm thinking, like for a lot of the small things, either Den support or Den is kind of I feel like is a good place to field ideas. And then once there's an idea that's kind of brought in together, then DENDAO can talk about how to put that into proposal, is where my head's at.
What you're saying makes sense, but I feel like that's the most complicated way to do. Like, it's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense, but there's like a lot of steps there. It's like, all right, now you got to go field this idea with the community and go like run a marketing campaign and all these layers. When really, honestly, the only opinion that matters are the layer owners on this page.
So you could also, for some things that are like small to the point where like, this is what I would say is an annoyance. Right? This is like an annoyance that could be better, but isn't like something that's stopping anybody from using Den. So that could even be something that is like in a quality of life update that comes after a couple of the big updates. It could be something, if it's small enough, it could be something that, like I said, is more of a support ticket than a DENDAO like development process. Then that can be handled along, like in parallel with the feature updates. I guess what I'm saying is every single change doesn't have to be a feature update. Some of them can just be, okay, this makes sense, and it's more of a fix or a small change that improves the quality of life for using it than it is a feature implementation. So I would say just start talking about it in either chat. If there's anybody hanging out in chat, we can post it in Den. You can post it in DENDAO, and we'll chime in and talk about it. Maybe come to a decision on that.
Well, somebody already likes it. 55 energy worth. So
well, good. All right. That's how we do it, man. You got something you want to get done, just do it. Okay. If you don't have this, I'll tell you what, man, if and this goes to like my Gainesville people too, if anybody's watching. Like, we have a lot of people who want this banner at the top of the GNU to be changed back to something more relevant to Gainesville, right?
I forgot.
And I've heard like 6 people say that. But the thing is, like with Den, you just got to do stuff, right? We can sit here and talk about what should change. We can sit here and talk about like, oh, you can't right click that, and this button's confusing, and that kind of stuff. And we can do that all day long. But if there's a way to do it, just do it and start talking about it. And if your ideas are unpopular, I'm pretty sure you're going to find out pretty quick, right? And if it is something that is beneficial and valuable to bring to the table, and everyone's like, you know what, I hadn't thought about that, but now that you bring it up, fuck this site until they bring the words back. Well, you'll find out if that's the kind of support you have. So I would say just like, I don't know, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. It's like a lot of stuff is just, you're going to have to just go do it. You know what I mean? So
like the thing is for your, like, no, I agree. And that's why, like, I wrote a thing while we're sitting here going, yo, give me my right click. And,
okay.
But like, so the only thing is that, like, I can't propose a, hey, let's do this thing. So I can't bring up the vote. I can just bring up the discussion when it comes to this.
So that's yeah. And the reason, you understand the reason for that though, right?
Oh, it makes sense. Okay. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, really the only opinion that matters is the people that own this layer though, because it doesn't matter how much I jump up and down and make noise in other layers.
I see what you're saying. Got you. So your question really is how to get the attention of somebody who holds a DENDAO lot.
Yeah, and that's because the best way to do it would probably post in the one that they are the sole owners in. Like,
cool. Well, you've got me convinced. What I said earlier was my opinion, and it's what I would lean towards doing. But that doesn't mean that's how you have to do it. You know what I mean? So if you find that that's more effective, then fantastic. That's, find out what's effective and let us know. I also want to say that there is a plan for this to grow as well, right? So this isn't going to be, everybody forever who has DENDAO law, as far as I know. So like we've even discussed already, existing content creators who want to come in and do the same thing that we're doing, add liquidity and things like that. Maybe we can have growth on who's able to propose those as well. But yeah, for right now, you're exactly right. And you posted in the right spot, and we will probably do that unless we find a reason not to.
We can ask about it, because I'm sure it's just it wasn't anything that we specifically designed. I think it's just the whatever was fastest for the devs to have done way back is what it was. So.
I'll even tip you for the effort.
Works,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's all I wanted. That's all
awesome.
I wanted.
Yep.
My 15 minutes of fame and 5 matter. That's what I want.
There you go. There you go. Well, you got that. Okay, cool. So what else we got? I want to make sure we haven't skipped over anything. If let's see, we're over an hour, so I will refrain from inviting anybody else to come on at the moment, but you can join us next week.
Yes.
For that, let me go back and just have a look at this again. Okay,
so make sure you vote, because everybody has a vote if you've been doing anything at all in Den. So yes, and so that's what I was getting at. Just feature review real quick.
So we went through the prioritizations in depth. That's good. Do review them, and do vote, because you can do that right now. And then, as Joe said, you don't need a lot. You can just go do it. And do we have, let me refresh, and then we don't have any feedback at the bottom, do we? Come on.
Nope.
There we go. Nope. All right. So that is, so that's the call. That is the June 2nd, 2022 call. Thank you, I Am Fram and T Swift or Die, for coming on to talk about the very important topics that we brought up today. John, you're sarcastic a lot. I don't know if a lot of people understand that. And so I just wanted to go out by saying I know John pretty well, and he's just a really sarcastic person. So if you find that he's abrasive, he might be doing it on purpose. All right. So there's that disclaimer. And there are a bunch of shows on Den. We have one on Thursdays, which is the World Blockchain Roundtable, that is got their own layer. And we have one on Tuesdays where Joe gives updates on Dragon Chain and on Den.Social over in the Dragon Chain layer. That has an AMA in it, by the way, so you can ask specific questions. And once a month, he'll go through the whole list, and then the rest of the weeks, he'll go through the top 3. Coffee is on Wednesday in the Den layer, and that is open kind of like this one is, where there's a link in the post where you can come and join. This is a meeting, that is a show. Is the difference. And I say it's a show in the loosest capacity possible, because it is literally morning coffee with Den, where we're waking up and getting our thoughts together and reading the internet and discussing whatever topics people post in there. And I always tip out people who post and leave replies there. So do that. And
it's
of course,
also a show because I'm on it and just kind of make it a show.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed T Swift or Die's input today, and you want to see some more snarky comments on things that he's honestly learning and picking up, slow but sure. John's one of the no corners that I brought into Den so that we could talk about how it ain't just for blockchain people, that kind of thing. And here he is making NFTs. He hasn't minted them yet, but he's working on it.
We'll do that next show. We're going to mint an NFT. Got a whole collection. If you want to learn how to do it, watch a YouTube video, or you can watch our show. Yeah.
So 9 a.m. Eastern over in the Den layer. And then this call, DENDAO, is hosted every Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. And that's the live Den streams we have. I'm usually around on Monday mornings as well. I do a what do I call it? Office hours, where it's literally just like, if you want to do a demo, I'll do it live. If you want to listen to whatever music I'm listening to while I'm working, just put it on in a tab in the background. Another not show. So yeah, that's Den. That's the DENDAO call. And thanks everyone for joining us. See you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.